Thank you very much. I would just like to echo Senator Curtis's words, if done well, and relate that I look forward to working with all of my colleagues on trying to make sure we have a good, if done well, solution here. Ms. Vijayan, has NASA determined that human-caused climate change is the main cause for increasing fire weather in the American West?
Thank you for the question, Senator. There is significant research, including by NASA, showing that climate change is a primary driver and intensifier of wildfires. There's also significant research showing that climate change is also exacerbating wildfire threats to the West in particular.
And our work has shown that from 2013 to 2022, home insurance costs have more than doubled. Is there evidence that these insurance cost increases relate to wildfire risk in areas that are subject to wildfire risk? And would it be reasonable to say that that's likely to get worse if we don't tackle the underlying NASA-designated climate problem?
I appreciate the question, Senator. I will note that I am not an insurance expert, but based on my expertise as an air attorney and climate attorney, and given the incontrovertible evidence that climate change is causing and exacerbating the problem, wildfires certainly, again, are leading to billions of dollars in property damage. And so given that the wildfire threat is ongoing and worsening, I think it's reasonable to say that, apologies, that threats to property damage will also be at great risk and likely of reoccurrence. And as a homeowner, again, even though I'm not an insurance expert, I do know and have experienced that when insurance companies raise rising costs, they do pass those costs on to property owners, and homeowners then are at risk of rising costs as well.
And while a prescribed burn is likely and hopefully less of a conflagration than a full-on wildfire, it nevertheless creates the same risks of health impact that a full-on wildfire does, although as a lesser conflagration to a lesser degree. Is that a fair way to look at this?
Yes, definitely, Senator. It is unquestionable that smoke from fire does cause emissions that lead to PM 2.5 and ozone impacts, among other pollutants.
And the fire doesn't care whether it was prescribed or not prescribed?
It does not distinguish between the type of fire.
Yeah. Mr. Pavlenko, the IMO has put forward a proposed carbon price for marine shipping emissions with strong support from within the industry, the international industry. Why do you believe the industry supports those market-based mechanisms?
Thank you for the question, Senator. So when it comes to the industry, in my view, what they value is stability and predictability. And so when it comes to investing in maritime decarbonization, you're dealing with an industry that's very risk-averse. Ships have a very long lifetime, much longer than a passenger car, for example. So when you're thinking about what investments you're making for your choice of ship, your choice of fuel, you want stability, predictability, and a global scheme that's consistent across different jurisdictions will help to ensure a level playing field for the international maritime shipping industry.
Yeah, and to the question of a level playing field, presumably those that want to behave well don't want to see people who cheat get a price advantage. So the emissions fee would protect against that as well, would it not?
Yes, definitely. However, with respect to the emissions fee, there is still important decisions to be made at IMO on how it is levied and how greenhouse gas reductions are counted. And it's still critical for IMO to ensure a truly level playing field by ensuring accurate carbon accounting. And
so to that point, let me ask you about the phrase you used, indirect land use change. Why does that matter, and why should it be counted?
It's critical because it's an important component of the well-to-wake life cycle emissions attributable to different fuels. So all else equal, when you create demand, let's say new demand from the maritime sector for something that uses dedicated cropland, let's say a crop-based biofuel, you're increasing pressure on land use, and that could lead to indirect market-mediated effects like deforestation. Now, it's not just limited to deforestation. You can increase yields, you can use marginal lands, you can shift food away from other sectors. And so that's why you have to use these complex economic models to balance all these different ways of responding to that demand and figuring out what the emissions from indirect land use change might be. Now,
Short answer, proper scoring matters, correct?
yes. So
Thank you. Our time's up.